enough to stop it. Look at this finish, though.
The late great Kobe Bryant is someone who will be remembered as one of the greatest ever, and for good reason. He was a force on the court, a big personality off of it, and spending his entire career in Los Angeles makes him a Lakers legend through and through. And winning them 5 rings doesn't hurt either. But sadly, in January of 2020, Kobe lost his life in a helicopter crash. And that got a lot of people to open up about Kobe, about what they thought about him. So, given all that, allow us to show you Kobe Bryant, NBA Legends, explain how scary he was. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. 5. Rip Hamilton. Let's start with someone who's very familiar with Kobe Bryant because he faced him in the NBA Finals. Rip Hamilton helped lead the Detroit Pistons to victory against the Lakers in the Finals once. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't fear Kobe on the court, just the opposite. For example, when he found out that there was an all-time great list and Kobe was at number 10 on that list, he had something to say. First of all, whoever voted and put Kobe at 10 just flat out disrespected him. I feel like Kobe Bryant is the closest guy to Michael Jordan that we've ever seen. When you look at his stats and see, yes, he was an 18 all-time All-Star. He was a 15 all-time NBA player, tied with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But when Magic Johnson comes out and says Kobe Bryant is the best Laker of all time, that means better than him, and better than the guy Magic played with, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I just think his body of work, you gotta understand, a lot of times when you look at his numbers, he's still top 5 all-time in scoring, but he played with another great player is Shaquille O'Neal. If he didn't play with Shaquille O'Neal, he'll probably be number 1 on the scoring list. He's probably the only guy, and Raji can probably attest to this, the only guy I competed against in my 14-year NBA career that when I would come into the game, I was low-key scared. The reason why is, Kobe was the type of player that was going to try to kill you when the first minute of play started, all the way until the final buzzer went off. You couldn't let him get 10 to 12 points in the first quarter, because he was trying to give you 50. He scored 81 points in a game. He was probably one of the most complete players that we've ever seen in our game of basketball. That's a lot of praise, and it's something you know RIP means, given by how much you talked about it. And that shows a lot of respect towards Kobe, when you understand that this was someone who beat him, and yet still feared him. 4. Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson, aka AI, had a very interesting relationship with Kobe Bryant, and that they weren't friends per se, but they did respect one another. In an interview after his death, AI revealed that even though they weren't close, they knew exactly how good they were on the court. Even saying, killers respect killers. He knew who I was, I knew who he was. I pushed him, he pushed me. AI even went on to reveal that he regrets not having a close relationship with Kobe after hearing all the stories that people had with him. And that says something right there. AI versus Kobe in the NBA Finals was a special thing, and one of AI's career highlights in regards to one ankle-breaking play. But even after all their clashes, AI wishes he would have known Kobe on a personal level. Just about says it all, doesn't it? 3. Kevin Garnett. You might think that because Kevin Garnett was on the Boston Celtics, and that his Celtics clash with Bryant in the NBA Finals twice, and split the series with them, that he wouldn't have a lot of awe-inspiring things to say about Kobe. But you would be wrong, because before he was a Celtic, he was on the Timberwolves. And he was with Kobe in New York City, Madison Square Garden, during Kobe's first All-Star game. The two had formed a small bond, and they were 2 of the young bucks in the game alongside many in the old guard, including going up against Michael Jordan. Garnett noted in an interview that he remembered how nervous Kobe was in his first All-Star game, and yet he put on a performance and dueled Michael Jordan very well. And Garnett even got to give him a definite play in the game via the alley-oop from God, and that let Kobe slam a dunk with authority. So more than anything, this proves that it doesn't matter what team you're on. If you have respect for someone, you're going to have a bond with them. And it should be noted that Garnett was inducted alongside the late Kobe Bryant in the recent NBA Hall of Fame ceremonies. 2. Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is one of, if not the greatest basketball player of all time. And his relationship with Kobe is honestly one that many people didn't expect to be as big and as powerful as it was. The reason we say that is because Kobe was just starting to rise up in the league when MJ was going to leave, via his second retirement with the Bulls. But as we find out, Kobe asked for Jordan's help on a lot of things, and asked him questions about moves he should try out and things like that. So much so that during a video game interview, Jordan said the following: "If I was in my prime, why would I want to play one-on-one?" Jordan asked in an interview with NBA 2K. That list is very long. I'll start off with Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Kobe Bryant in his prime, LeBron James in his prime, Dwayne Wade in the prime, Carmelo Anthony. That's a good start. I don't think I'd lose other than to Kobe Bryant because he steals all of my moves. Bryant was the first to admit that he did, in fact, steal Jordan's moves. Dang near 100% of the technique, Bryant told Howard Peck of Bleacher Report. And though Jordan did lament the loss of Kobe Bryant after his tragic passing, he would also be the first to admit that at times, Kobe did push things a bit. He used to call me, text me, 11:30, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, talking about post-up moves, footwork, and sometimes the triangle, Jordan said. At first, it was an aggravation, but then it turned into a certain passion. This kid had passion like you would never know of. It's an amazing thing about passion. If you love something, if you have a strong passion for something, you go to the extreme to try and understand or try to get it. So yeah, he was scary enough to make Jordan think he would lose to him, and also turn an annoyance into a passionate friendship. That's skill right there. 1. Shaq. There are many in the NBA who felt a deep loss when Kobe Bryant died, but one could argue that despite their tumultuous relationship, that Shaquille O'Neal was the man who took it the hardest amongst the players. The reason for this is that for a span of 4 years, the Shaq/Kobe Lakers was the most dominant force in the NBA, to the extent that they won 3 titles in those 4 seasons. But then, hate and ego got in the way, and they split up and had a feud that lasted very much the rest of their lives. When Kobe died, Shaq had his wake-up call, if you will, and realized that they haven't really talked much in years, and that there is so much left unsaid. Even crying on air as he tried to express what he was feeling. As for how Shaq is doing now and how his feelings about the loss of Kobe have evolved, he is honoring him, and yet also remembering him for how great he was. I redid my living room, redid my gym. His pictures are up on the wall, the 48-year-old said. He was already a legend. He was already a guy that would never be forgotten, but he was definitely gone too soon. O'Neal said he didn't realize it was already a year since Bryant's death and described their bond as very enigmatic. I always say we were the most dominant 1-2 punch ever created. Enigmatic, controversial, having fun, and there'll never be another like us, he explained. Considering how many great 1-2 punches there are out there in the history of the NBA, both past and present, that's a big deal to say. And yet you believe him because he was part of that combo, and their accolades together absolutely speak to how great a tandem they were. So what do you think? What do you think this look at Kobe Bryant and what the various legends of the game thought about him? Are you shocked by some of the comments by the legends? Which ones do you feel personally encapsulated him and how good he was? Are you glad he was put into the NBA Hall of Fame for this year? And how will he rank all time when all is said and done? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.